Welcome, my dear folks, to yet another episode, to video number 22. And today, let's talk movies. Movies are always an entertainment factor, isn't it? No matter what age you're in, you always enjoy a good movie. There could be annoying movies, there could be movies that are very calm, there could be relaxing movies, some are romantic, but you still enjoy a good movie given any day. The fact that it provides you a lot of entertainment. And having said this, let us talk about the history of movies. Where has movies first generated, or what was the initial idea for movies, and how has it evolved over the years to the day, to till this day? The movies that we watch, what did their ancestors do, but how did they find good movies in their initial days? It was in the early 19th century that the motion picture industry first had a revolutionary transformation. It was a lot of technological advancements that came together to bring in the motion picture industry. That was still photography, and the illusion the illusion of motion that was created by combining still photographies or still photos, and of course the human motion or the human locomotion. All these different factors combined in to give rise to the first motion picture industry, or to give rise to a thought that there is something beyond photography, or there is something beyond still photography. And that is where Thomas Alva Edison, along with William Dixon, came up with a wonderful idea of a kinetoscope. I'm not sure a lot of people have heard that, but it was this kinetoscope that stayed as a predecessor to motion film projector. And Edison Company started installing these kinetoscopes in lots of places, and all these plays that were played in the kinetoscope were shot in Edison Studios. The Edison Company then started making profits by installing this kinetoscope in lobbies, amusement parks, hotels, and they were a good source of investment, and of course a money making factor, because you had a different object sitting out in the camera, or sitting out in front of your, oh my god, why did I even mention camera? You have a different object sitting in an amusement park that can play you a movie, or a very short video, or a very short spin of still photos, which is then combined into a movie. People started liking the fact in the 19th century. But it's in the 1895, or the year 1895, that the Lumiere brothers, Louis Lumiere and his other elder brother, came up with the first idea of a motion picture projector, or a film projector. They invented, or they patented, a device called cinematograph. This is the device which is paved the way for a motion film projector. This device, this so-called cinematograph, existed as a motion film projector, and even started showing movies. In the late 1895, so in December 1895, it was when the Lumiere brothers premiered their first movie. It was just a shot of workers leaving the Lumiere factory. And yes, that's the exact name of the movie. Workers leaving the Lumiere factory is the first film. This was a series of workers leaving out. It was a very short movie of 10 short scenes. These 10 short scenes were shot with the camera being placed and then shown through a motion film projector. This was the first premiere movie, the first movie that started letting people know that movies can be created and can be premiered as well. But movie had its own challenges, so cinemas had its own challenges, because they were fighting the magicians out there, they were fighting the circuses out there. There were a lot of other amusements that people found to better than cinemas. Because cinemas, the way cinemas were being shown was just a shot, or a camera shot that was being portrayed into a cinema, or maybe a man taking down a walk on the lane. These were all real life incidents that man already witnessed. There was nothing special in watching a movie. There were no directors back then. There was no script, or there was no play that was being written for a cinema or a cinematograph. So cinema had its initial challenges, but it was The Great Train Robbery, released in 1900s, if I'm not wrong, 1905 or 1907, that brought in the first commercial film success. It was the first box office hit. The so-called Great Train Robbery is the first movie that brought in a box office hit. And that is when the production company started rethinking about themselves, that this is a money-making process. This is a way that we can use to make money. And that is when these production houses started thinking beyond cinemas, beyond art. That is when cinema has become an art, or cinema has become a way to gain revenue. That went down the old Nickelodeon theatres, because Nickelodeon theatres, or the so-called name Nickelodeon, was coined for theatres in the early 1900s, because cinemas were mostly being watched by the poor or the working class men, because the working class men had to find relaxation for their time, and they found it cheaper to just lay around, or these cinema stalls where the so-called cinema theaters were installed in front of stores, so that these working class people can come and relax there after their work and watch a good movie, a relaxing movie. But it was the success of this great train robbery. This movie called The Great Train Robbery made the manufacturers or made the production companies rethink on building better theaters that were plush, that were more comfortable, that had enough lighting. That is where the idea of real good movies started coming in. That is where cinema started becoming an act. Cinema was beyond business. Cinema was in itself becoming a business. It was beyond art. Then came the need for a movie location or the place to shoot movies, because until then all the movies that were shot were indoors. Some of them were slightly outdoors, but the weather conditions in the US had them to stay and shoot movies indoors. But then the idea of money making had come into their mind, and they understood the need or realized the need for making movies round the year. And to make movies round the year, New York or Chicago was not the best place, because New York and Chicago's weather conditions were impractical for a man to shoot movies round the year, due to the rain, due to the snowfalls that they experienced, due to the winters coming in. It was a difficult suit. It was then that they found the Hollywood suburban system. Yes, a small suburb in Los Angeles called Hollywood was every moviegoer's perfect place, because it had the perfect landscape and the provision to shoot movies round the year for its good weather or its good climate that they found there. And movie makers and moviegoers started going there, started taking their own movies, and that is where how Hollywood originated, how Hollywood began its reign on the entire film industry or the entire movie industry. Until then, movies or movie making was mostly dominated by the Europeans. It was the French who invented the motion picture projector, or the so-called Lumiere brothers were French manufacturers or French photo company manufacturers. But the rise of Hollywood has begun the so-called monopolism in the film industry, and the rest, as you know, is history. What has happened from the beginning of Hollywood to till now, the entire movie industry, every single film that is taken is always or has to always be thankful to that Hollywood movie made there, or to the Great Train Robbery, the movie The Great Train Robbery that brought in the first box office success, that made all of us rethink for the need or for the money-making instinct of a cinema industry. The rest, as you know, is what we see today. The movies that we see today, we enjoy them. It's a source of entertainment. We're always with them. But rest assured, always make sure you thank those little people, you thank those Edisons, you thank those Lumiere brothers for the movies that you see today, because it was this motion film projector, this so-called kinetoscope, and those Nickelodeon theaters back then that have paved the way to bring in the cinemas that we see today. Having said that, enjoy your movies. Make sure you watch at least once a week. Have a good day. Thanks.